Hello and welcome to the Transformation Experience webinar with myself, Marilyn, Devonish. I was just saying before you went live, if you haven't got any water, make sure you've got some water handy so you keep yourself hydrated throughout this presentation. We've got quite a lot that I want to whiz through today. Now, the good news is, of course, that you can catch the replay and go back and review anything that we have touched on. So first of all, welcome. Absolutely delighted to have you here, whether or not you're here live, and that's wonderful because we can have your interactions and questions answered in real time. And also for those of you who are watching the replay recording, just want to say thank you to all for putting some time aside to come and join me for this. Now, several things, as I said, quite a lot we want to get through today. So in terms of the session overview, we're going to do an overview of what is the transformation experience. What do I mean when I say that? We're going to look at why going initially for the luxury venue, spa, getaway type approach and how that kind of fits into the whole thing. Look at some keys for transformation in terms of things that it's useful for you to be able to do. And also we're going to do a little mini breakthrough experiment. So you will need to have a piece of blank paper for that. Let's just see. Oh, hold on. Actually, that's actually a mind map, but the other side is blank. So you're going to need to have a piece of blank paper. I will explain how all of that works when we get to it, but you might just want to make sure you've got a piece of paper handy. You can kind of rip something out of a notepad if you want to, but A4 size ideally. We're going to talk about the kind of scalar energy side of things and how that's going to power the transformation work, the breakthrough sessions, the processes that we're doing. I put together a few coaching questions and food for thought, things that it could be useful for you to think about wherever you are in your journey and whatever it is it's going to be for you. I've also put together 8 steps, things that you can use to actually change your mindset and change and transform your mindset in as little as 3 days when you put these things into practice. We'll talk about some next steps if you do want to do the transformation experience. There's a giveaway as well. We've got a £500 gift voucher and potentially for one winner, a £1,000 gift voucher against the silver and platinum package, gold and platinum package. We'll talk about that as well. And Q&A. So if there's anything that I have not touched on, by the time we get to the end of this presentation, we can have a bit of time to do that as well. So I guess one of the first things just to start thinking about is the mind. Your mind is a treasure trove of gifts and skills and abilities and limitless potential. And the transformation experience is really designed to help you unlock all of that and mine some of those treasures within. There's that famous saying that don't die, don't leave this planet with your gift, G-I-F-T, rather than moving gift, with your gift still inside of you. And that's really, for me, ultimately what all of this work is about that I've been doing for the last 23.5 years at this point. Now, for those of you who haven't used this platform before, just very quickly, in terms of how you can submit your questions as we go through, if there's anything that you think of what you want to ask or you want clarification on, you've got 2 options. There's the public chat and then the private Q&A. So the public chat, whatever name you logged in using, people will see that. So for example, so if I put, sorry about the clacking. All right, so if I do that, so that's public. So you'll see I'm logged in as Marilyn Devonish. So you'll see my name come up there. Everyone can see that. If you look what those 2 red arrows are, look at the Q&A. There's a Q&A button next to it. The Q&A is private. So that just comes to me. No one else can see that. So I won't say your name when I read things out from the Q&A. So that's how you submit your questions. For those of you I haven't met before, my name is Marilyn Devonish. Had a very traditional background, did a business studies degree, postgraduate marketing diploma with a chartered institute of marketing, was studying to be a chartered accountant. Thankfully, I was also very quiet and very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem, sabotaging myself at every single turn. Things I knew I wanted to do, could be doing, and maybe even should be doing, I was not doing those things. So signed up for a personal development workshop. The rest, as they say, is history. And I actually did try to get a refund at first because I was like, no, this isn't what I signed up for, because I thought I was just going to do something with communication skills. Now, in terms of some of the things you see here, these are some of the things that we will be doing during the transformation experience. So I'm now a trainer, what you call practitioner, master practitioner, and trainer of NLP, trainer of hypnosis, and trainer of timeline therapy. Those 3 things form the core basis of what we call the breakthrough session. For those of you who've worked with me before or on my newsletter list, etc., you'll know that HUNA, H-U-N-A, is one of the firm favorites. So the things like the HUNA, the access consciousness, the FLP, future life progression, the soul plan reading, might touch a bit on the archetypes. We're not necessarily delving deep into that one this time round, but the things you see here will be things that get incorporated into the transformation experience as well. So that's just a little bit of a flavor of what's to come. I also a public speaker. I teach presentation skills, public speaking. I design and deliver corporate trainings and also do kind of media commentator work, TV, radio, etc. Now, for those of you I haven't ever met before, you might be going, well, it's all right for you to do all of those things. But this was my original personality. Very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem. The way I described it, I'm on the outside looking in, so I can see everybody else living their lives and doing things that they want to do. And I was kind of on the outside of that, just watching. And that culminated in me contemplating suicide at the age of 32. So I always say I didn't do a Lady Gaga. I wasn't necessarily born this way, although, as I said about the treasure trove, with the right support and the keys, I discovered all of that, the other potential and things and skills and gifts and talents I had, which weren't immediately obvious to me, trying to battle through it all on my own. And I also had various health challenges, one of which was being diagnosed with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's in my 20s. So with things like the photo reading, now photo reading isn't part of the transformation experience, but things like the photo reading, accelerated learning, just absolutely changed and transformed everything when I got over myself and thought, just do it, just give it a go. So, and the whole thing about the energy, being mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, sleeping 12 to 15 hours a day just to function, that was my way of being. And I'd kind of resigned myself to that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about personal development and this thing that we call the breakthrough, etc. Now, it's a little bit like sliding doors, because there were several exit points where either I could have made a different decision, different people might have picked up the phone at different times, I may have just come in after an opportunity was about to open or before it became available. And the movie Sliding Doors is really interesting. It's one of those things that gets you wondering, I wonder what would happen if you get on the train. If you, this is for those of you who are in the United States, this is what we call the London Underground. In Europe, I think France, etc., you might call it the Metro. And I think sometimes you call it that in the United States as well. The subway would be maybe the way you refer to it also. But the film, in a nutshell, is Gwyneth Paltrow is the main actress in the film. And we see two parallel stories that collide at one point and then they do that again. It's a really fascinating film if you haven't seen it. But the outcome is different whether or not Gwyneth Paltrow gets on the tube, as we call it here, or misses it and gets the next one. So let's just say, for example, you get to the tube, you realize that you've left the keys for your filing cabinet in the office. If you go back and get it, you'll get one outcome. But if you think, leave it for tonight and I'll just get it tomorrow, next time I'm in the office, and you get on the tube, there's a completely different outcome. And people often say to me, what do you think your life would have been like if you hadn't gotten over the fear of taking that next step and sticking with something, even though it meant a level of introspection and asking questions of oneself and doing the transformation work? What do I think my life would have been like? And so this is the kind of journey as it stands. That was me, lost, suicidal, no sense of direction in terms of what I wanted to do. There's something in the archetypal journey called answering the call. That's kind of one of basically the first stage, where you answer the call, hello, or Marilyn, hello. You answer the call, step over the threshold, and then the journey begins there. So with stepping over the threshold, there was a sense of courage in terms of having to step into that. There was the investment in terms of time, resources, learning, money, all of those things. Kind of get to that point where you have to then put things into practice and actually start to trust yourself and trust what you are capable of, and even trust the support that's being offered to you. Because like, really? Then there's the whole thing, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, saying yes to yourself and saying yes to opportunities as they present themselves to you. If you think, this sounds good, And then that whole thing about conceiving that life could be different, that the world could be different, that your place in the world could be different, and believing in that. And then you get to, in archetypal journey terms, there's 8 stages to the archetypal journey. You get to the place where you return, as they say, to the kingdom with your gifts, the things that you are bringing to the, and so you're like, yay, I'm there. The other side of that, the alternative reality, starting off with the lost, suicidal, no sense of direction, but not answering the call, and therefore staying in that place of low self-esteem where you're kind of sabotaging yourself all the time. That can lead, in my case, this is my journey, well, could have been my journey if I didn't get on the tube or did get on the tube, depending, being in that place of isolation, therefore losing out on opportunities, things I'm not saying yes to, things I'm not doing. I'm almost letting was letting life pass me by and watching other people doing things and thinking, oh, but not doing them myself. That can then feed into a sense of hopelessness. And it's, they say every cloud's got a silver lining. Oh, no. It was all dark clouds. And when they talk about the glass being half full of glass, I'm like, what glass? It was that sort of thing. And then also saying I can't. And that's where the limiting beliefs set in, where I talk myself out of things, even if I knew they were things that were for my own good eventually and that would lead to a better way of being, a more of the life I dreamed of living. I could still talk myself out of it. And my default setting was no. Well, who do I think I am? I can't do that. And that would then feed into that sense of depression, despair, and despondency, and all of that. And the dream remains elusive. So that's kind of the alternative journey. Now, one of the things I always say, number one, we never know what's going to happen. I suspect that I would have eventually come around and been a 50-something-year-old NLP practitioner, or just looking into coaching, just looking into therapy. I'm sure interesting things would have happened with my life in the intervening 23, 4+ years. But had I not done that, then 23 years worth of products, programs, workshops, MP3s, sharing knowledge, expertise, television, radio, all of those wonderful things, producing the PDF reports, that body of work would not exist. And the people that I've managed to help over those I became a coach and therapist in October 2000. So the people I've helped in those intervening years, potentially, now they probably would have found someone else, done something else. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But again, we're back to the sliding doors proposition. So when I look at it, I'm really, really glad that I took the plunge and said, yes, I'm in, let's do it. And let's not waste any more time. Now, the word waste, I don't mean that in the typical sense of the word, because as I said, other things would have happened in my life. Other things would have been, I would have done different things. But in terms of this that I've been able to do for the past 24 years, it's like, whoa, thank God I got over myself and said yes. And they didn't just immediately take my refund, because if they had, it would have been a different story with the sliding doors. Now we add into the mix of all of that, coming back to the transformation experience. So you don't have to go on that whole windy journey and spend the first 32 years of your life trying to figure this stuff out. This will be the first time in 14+ years that I've done the breakthrough work in person. I can't even believe that myself. It's like, whoa, has it really been that long? But yeah, as I said, for people who are coming in a bit later, I've been a coach and therapist since October 2000. For the first 9 years, everything I did was in person. Then kind of really, I started transitioning into the online in 2005. And by 2009/10, that transition was complete. So everything I've done and all the examples I'll show you with clients and all the rest of it, all of that's been done online. This is the first opportunity in 14 years that you get to do it in person, one-to-one. Those of you who've been around a while, you will know that, because sometimes people go, like you go past these shops and it's closing down. Then you go past 6 months later, it's closing down. Then 6 years later, it's still closing down. There'll be people who've been around a while that when I launched the transformation program, for example, it was nearly 10 years before I offered that ever again. Did it the once, took 1 or 2 people on the following, and that was it. It just didn't run it again. And there have been certain things, I've run them once, they've been amazing, and I've just not run them again, because I've done that now. What's next? So I have no idea if this opportunity will return. or if it will be another 14 years before you might get the chance to do it if I'm still doing what I'm doing. You get 3 times the usual amount of time, because a breakthrough session is 1 day. We've got 3 days with this particular opportunity. Beautiful transformational location. I'll talk about the reasons for that shortly. Working on multiple layers and facets. The breakthrough sessions are always multifaceted. It's condensed into 1 day. They're fast and furious. They are deep and they really, really work. And we get even more time to delve and going into those layers and bringing in the scalar energy, bringing in the frequency generators and all of that we're actually doing with the environment. So working on, when I say different levels, completely different levels. So we'll do that this time round. And the energetically infused environment. And I'll explain to you how all of that's going to work as well. So for me, in terms of what I've been doing for the last 24 years, that they're coming up to 24 years at this point, if you're watching this in real time, this for me is the ultimate breakthrough experience. It's as easy as punching through a piece of paper. Now, I've done things the hard way, and then I've done things the easier way. And this, if you, and you can keep struggling along doing what you're going to do and doing a bit of this here and a bit of that there and a bit of that there, or you can just kind of bring the whole thing together. The reason why I've taken this particular approach, number of things. When I was putting this particular webinar together, and I was thinking, what is it about? What is it about? The word reinvention and lots of other R words came into my mind. And I started thinking of Madonna. She did a Re-Invention tour. Can you believe the Re-Invention tour was in 2004? That is absolutely unbelievable. So she did the Re-Invention tour, and she said, we're talking old and new, songs from my entire career, doing songs like they've never been done before, because that's what life is about. And in terms of just, I was having a little bit of a read online, it involved 130 rigging points, arsenal of moving lights, 4 tons of sound system, 72 feet of catwalk, 7 tons of video screens, and a production cost of over $1 million. That's some tour. And I'm sure that might be small fry now in terms of some of the big productions that you see. But for me, the transformation experience is blending some of the old, the tried and tested things that clients absolutely love, and blending that with the newer things and the kind of technological side of as well to bring all of that in. So I was kind of thinking that for me is how this is stacking up. So first thing I would say is, what's your why? Is it for you about a reevaluation in terms of reevaluating where you are in life and what it is you want to do? Is it about reinvention, a bit like the Madonna, where you're like, okay, well, who am I now? And it's time to re-enter the world and reinvent yourself. Is it about straight out relaxation? If you are tired, exhausted, then that might be what it's all about. And the tiredness and the exhaustion, if you're not in that place, what I'm about to say may not resonate with you. There are times where I say to my clients, particularly if they're not doing something that is physically demanding, but they're really tired, I will say to them, you know, are you tired at the level of the mind, the body, the spirit, or the soul? Is your soul tired? Is your spirit tired? And oftentimes people go, oh yes, that's different from the physical tiredness. So it might be that full-on sense of relaxation. It might be a sense that you need to recharge, or you want to recharge your batteries. It could be that you're, or a bit like the reevaluation, you want to rediscover who you are, what's important to you, what's your next step, what's the direction that you're going in. It could be that sense of you're not necessarily exhausted, but it'd be really lovely to have a rest and just have nothing that you actually have to do for a few days. It might be that you're doing a review of your life. You've gotten to a stage or an age where you're like, okay, done this. And sometimes you've even forgotten what you've done because there's been so much that's gone on. It's very easy for that to kind of fall away from consciousness. Or it could be that you want to regenerate. And the reason I put a version of a 7, that's an AI version, of course, that's not Jerry Ryan 7 of 9. But the reason I've put a representation of 7 of 9 is because she's Borg, if you ever watch Star Trek. Even though 7 of 9 can keep going, even 7 of 9 needs to regenerate. Otherwise, her circuits start misfiring because she's half borg, half human. Her circuits start misfiring. So 7 of 9, theoretically, if she were a real character, is not even human and still needs to regenerate. And that's the same with us as human beings. And sometimes a bit like the way we're having an issue with the washing machine at the moment, the first thing the person said is, have you unplugged it? And it's a bit like that. I said, oh, that would be the first thing I'd do if it was a PC, but I can't actually get to the plug because it's behind the machine and this thing weighs an absolute ton. It's like a big stainless steel thing. But that whole thing about unplugging and just recharging, that seems to be the way much of our world works. And we as human beings are not much different from that. So in terms of what you can focus on during the transformation experience, it could be your life purpose. You might be thinking about, okay, why am I here? What is it all about? Could be about your self-identity. Who are you? And is that who you want to be? And if you suspect and know that you want to change in some way, shape or form, that might be the thing that you go for. Is it around looking at dealing with stress and anxiety and overwhelm and some of those things that are happening physically in terms of the emotions? Is it about releasing the limiting beliefs, some of the common culprits? I'm not good enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough, not clever enough. The kind of not enoughs are in that sort of pot. It could be about resolving negative emotions. The big 4 tend to be anger, sadness, fear, and guilt. Anxiety coming into that as well. And the reason I call those the big 4, they tend to act as an umbrella for everything else that might be happening. So let's say you get frustrated, that could still be under the anger banner, or people are down. That's often under the sadness banner. So get mad, that'll be under the fear. So those tend to be the 4 main ones that we work with when we're starting off with the breakthrough session. And then what else kind of comes from there in the little offshoots. Now, the good thing about it is when you work with the big 4, all of the other subsets that feed into it and feed off of it will then start to disappear. It might be about tapping into your gifts and talents because you realize there's actually more that you could be doing with your life. There's more that you want to do. You have untapped potential capabilities. Sometimes people know exactly what they are and they just know they're not using them. And at other times it's like that treasure trove. It's the journey of discovery. It could be about motivation and inspiration, where you almost feel as though you're dragging yourself through life, barely putting one foot in front of the other, living for the kind of the little sliver of the weekend. It could be that you want greater clarity in terms of the next phase, next direction, next chapter of your life. Could be about energy and vitality, how you are feeling physically and spiritually, and the energy and vitality that you bring into what you're doing and who you are being in the world. Or it could be that you're looking at things really kind of deep from a cellular perspective and level. And it could be something else, but those are just examples of the things that might bring you to the transformation experience. So some of the keys to transformation and what makes this particular approach so effective, it's not that there aren't other things that you can do. These are the things that over the last 23, 24 years have worked brilliantly, both for me initially and then for the clients that I've worked with. And so these are the things that I've seen make a big difference. So some of those keys to transformation, and before we do that, I'll just have a sip of water. Cheers. So some of the keys to transformation: a change of environment, getting away from your usual environment, because your environment has an energy to it, has an aura and a vibe. And as beautiful as your environment might be, you know, they start saying a change is as good as a rest. So getting yourself into a different environment can often change your thinking, change your perspective, change your mindset. Expansive space. Now, you might have the luxury of living in a great big mansion, but even so, back to point 1, change is as good as a rest. But being in a place and space which is clean, it's clear, it's spacious, that also has an impact on your energy field and the expansiveness on your mind. And when you add to that not having to do what you normally do, that frees up even more bandwidth. Exploring unfamiliar territory. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. That's the old saying. It's all the ice cream van. So if you are therefore in that place, in that space where you're doing things differently, looking at things from a new perspective, if you think about what Einstein said about not being able to solve the problem at the level at which it was created, it's that sort of thing. Working from the inside out. Oftentimes when we're figuring out stuff, people often kind of almost like parrot fashion, or they can tell you chapter and verse what the issue, the challenge, the problem is. However, being able to tell you all about it doesn't necessarily solve it. And oftentimes there are things going on beneath the surface that may not be visible to the naked eye, if you want to put it that way, that you yourself might not even be aware of. And so this is saying, well, let's work from the inside out. And then the next thing about identifying the root cause, because when you get to something at the root cause, it means that, again, everything that feeds into it and feeds off of it, because you pull out the root, all of that then withers away and just disappears. Time is a big one. We live in a busy world. There are often many, many things that are demanding your attention, whether that's work, career, health, well-being, relationships, family, social life, social media for some, if you're an influencer or something like that. But there are things that take our time. And the transformation experience is also about giving yourself the gift of time and that wonderful gift of space, and then working on these multiple levels, coming back to that Einstein idea of different levels and being outside and just changing completely the place and the space and the dynamic where the problem was originally created. It's also comprehensive. For those of you who've been around a while, you might have even attended the annual, it used to be the annual MBS Energy Fest, Mind, Body, Spirit and Soul Energy Fest. I ran that that was an in-person event. So I ran it for 10 years, first weekend of December, rock up to the hotel not too far from here, and we'd run that as an annual event. I say we would because that came to an end a couple of years ago. So it's working on all of those levels, which the MBS was known for, and also bringing in the cellular and the frequencies as well, which is a bit of a powerhouse in and of their own right. And we can bring that together in the way that we do this also. So it's kind of a complete bespoke approach, looking at your thoughts, looking at your feelings, your mindset, your physical body, your neurology, your energy, your beliefs. And rather than is often the case, particularly if you're just doing a one-off session here, you do an hour there and a coaching session there and a coaching session there, you often, because you just have to cherry pick. Well, what shall I focus on? And it's like, well, choose one thing. And if we're doing even with a breakthrough session, we're choosing that one central core area of your life. If you think of it like the wheel of life, we're picking one of those spokes. Now, the idea is to go for the spoke that's going to have the biggest bang for your buck. And where you change that, it then will have that wonderful ripple effect. But essentially, we're having to cherry pick. What I'm really excited about, well, one of the things I'm really excited about with the transformation experience is we're not having to cherry pick as much, because we've got the time and the space to work on a number of different aspects, and also exploring in more detail how they interconnect and interrelate with each other. So that's one of the things that is different about this. And in terms of when I talked about expansive space, as soon as I started sitting down thinking, okay, where would I run something like this? The first thing that came to mind was a place called The Grove. They're called the Grove London. They're actually in Watford. Don't tell anyone. They always say London, but they're actually, their postcode is WD. So they're actually in Watford. They're set in 300 acres, and they call themselves London's Country Retreat. So what you can see there on the slide is the aerial shot. And this event is no way affiliated with the Grove. This is just the environment that I thought, where would be the perfect place to do this, to get all of that sumptuous, when we're talking about expansive space, 300 acres is a lot of space. And the country house, as you can see, there is massive, and they also have the various extensions, the restaurants, etc. So that was the first idea. And I have also incorporated 2 other venues so we can have things at different price points, but the Grove was the starting point. In terms of some of the things that you will get there, and that feeds into what I've just been saying about the things that we want to cover, it's a 5-star hotel, 300 acres. They have a luxurious spa, and I mean luxurious. They've got the swimming pool. They've got a championship golf course. If you are a golfer, Tiger Woods has played and won one of his championships at the Grove. So it's not a little noddy course. We're talking world-class golfing. I don't golf. There are 4 beautiful restaurants, and it is just 18 miles from London. But the way they describe it, the Grove is 18 miles from London, yet it is a world away, because once you are there, you kind of forget where you are, and it actually feels like you're abroad, because it's beautiful, it's opulent, and everything is catered for. So that's really why I went with that particular one. Now, in terms of the transformation experience itself, where all this will be, well, one of the places, and I'll talk about the other two venues as well, just so you get a sense of what they are. As I said, there are three in total, three completely different price points, and I'll explain to you, show you the other venues as well. But in terms of the transformation experience itself, it is the legendary one-day breakthrough session, bringing in the old, if you think about Madonna and the Re-Invention tour. Scalar energy powered, that's definitely bringing in the brand new as well. It's the targeted frequency release session. So we'll do a pre-questionnaire. What is it you want to work on? What do you want to focus on? I'll have that information beforehand, and what I can then do is create bespoke frequency programs. So those frequencies will run while we are doing the session. I'll explain how all of that works as well, because these are generated by devices, not just the frequency in my head in terms of the way that I do the HUNA. It's a whole different ball game from that. But I think of it as like the electronic version of HUNA, HUNA. There'll be the spa time. Now, the spa time is if you're going for the Grove package. There is a massage included, because as we're working with things mentally and emotionally, sometimes, and some of you may have had this experience, emotions will show up in your physical body as well. You will feel them. For those of you who, let's say, when I told you about hang on, let me get it from behind me. This is one of them. When I told you about the block therapy, for example, many people, in terms of block therapy, they'll do the block therapy and emotions come up, because we can store emotions in the body. So I thought that including the massage would be a really nice thing to do as well. One of the questions, I'll answer it while we're here rather than waiting to the end of the Q&A. Somebody said, can they do extra massages? You can. Just be aware their massages are £200 a pop. So I'm including one in the package. If you wanted to do others, you would kind of do that yourself directly with the hotel. But a massage is included, so we can release some of the things that are in the physical body. Plenty of rest and relaxation time. You'll see how I've put together what I think is a good outline for the schedule. That can be adjusted depending on where you're at, but there's plenty of rest and relaxation time, so you can physically, spiritually, and emotionally rest, and also enjoy the grounds, facilities, etc. Meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are included. So technically, the way this would work, on day one, you'll have lunch and dinner included. Day 2, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Day 3, breakfast and lunch if you wanted to stay for lunch, or if you wanted to head off, that's up to you. And it combines the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the nurturing, all of the transformation in one package. Now, in terms of the logistics, the nuts and bolts, if you want it, there'll be if you're coming by train, for example, there'll be the pickup from Watford Junction Station. So there's a taxi rank right there. Just get in a taxi, keep your receipt, you'll get that refunded when you arrive. 3 days in terms of the facilities, and if you're doing the Grove, then the spa facilities as well. 2 nights accommodation, the private massage if you're doing the Grove version, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as I just said. All of the venues, the 3 venues that I've chosen, all have on-site car parking with the Grove. If you're doing the Grove, make sure that you park near the reception. Seriously, a friend and I we were going to one of the restaurants. Now, we normally go to the Glass House, which is amazing. That's my favorite place to go for my birthday lunch. So we parked, but we parked near reception, and we were going to one of the different restaurants we were going for lunch. I'm telling you, we needed a golf. We were like, we need a golf buggy for this, because it was quite far. So just make sure you park near reception, because it's absolutely massive. And if you end up in one of the other car parks, you have a nice brisk walk, put it that way. And also bonus evening sessions, those are optional. I will talk to you about what those are as well when we look through the schedule. But what I want to do now is we're going to do the breakthrough demo test. So I'm going to grab, I won't use my mind map. So what you need is a blank sheet of paper, That's it, just regular blank sheet of paper. This one is ATGSM, but whatever you've got to hand. So that's your blank piece of paper. That's what we need. This is how we're going to do the breakthrough demo test. Number one, get a sheet of loose leaf paper. Ta-da! Hold it and punch through it with one hand. That's it. So you're going to be holding this piece of paper, however you want to hold it, punch through it with one hand. And I'm going to give you, let's just say, I get my timer. I'm going to give you, oh my God, clearly, I don't know what I was timing before, but it's been going on for 286 hours. Right, let's reset that, shall we? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Of course, you can take longer if you're watching this as a replay, but I'm going to give you 30 seconds to punch through, holding it with one hand, just holding it. You don't, you're not, because people get creative. No, you're holding it with one hand, and I just want you to punch through with the other. Your 30 seconds starts now. Got 10 seconds left. 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. So that's the demo test. Demo test number 2. Now, if you don't have someone with you, you'll have to leave this until you've got someone there. So this is one we'll do outside of the recording because we're in the middle of the webinar, so you're not necessarily going to go off and do this now, but this is something to do in your own time. So you get another sheet of loose leaf paper if you need a new sheet. Get someone to hold it either side. See where those two arrows are? So you get someone to hold it for you, either side, and then you punch through it with one hand, and then report back and let me know which of those two things was easiest. Was it easier to hold it yourself and punch through it, or was it easier to get someone to hold it and punch through it for you? Now, in the interest of time, the debrief, I know what the debrief results would already be. Demo test number 2, where somebody is holding it for you, is always easier. Demo test 1, where you are holding it yourself, is sometimes nigh on impossible because it's all over the place, and all that happens is you scrunch up the paper, but you don't actually punch a hole through it. Why is that? Demo test 2, you've got someone supporting you. Demo test 2, you've got that sense of perspective. You can have that piece of paper exactly where you want it. You've got the stability and focus of your energy as well. You're not punching all over the place trying to get through the paper. You've got your eye on the prize in the center. You've got your clear focus, and there's also a bit of tension to it because the person who's holding it, if they hold it like this, you go to punch and it just falls out of their hand. So their natural inclination, you're going to put a bit of tension behind it so that when you punch through, there's a show here. It's actually come back. It was a show from the 1980s. It's called The Gladiators. I can hear Gladiator already in my head now, but there's a show called The Gladiators. And you do that final thing, and the final test is the travelator, where you're already knackered, your legs are weak, and you've got to run up this moving treadmill, but it's basically almost like that, and you're already tired. And then grab on a rope and you break through and you smash through the piece of paper. The person who bursts through first is the winner. This is a little bit like that in terms of, do you want to fight through it, trying to get it all yourself? Or do you have that help and support because you've got people cheering you on and all the rest of it? Now, if that was a gymnasium situation, you would have your coach running alongside you. You also would have done your practice sessions, etc. And that little bit of tension is the thing that makes all the difference, because the tension, the challenge, if we go back to the transformation experience, is going to bring some things up for resolution. So answer the question for yourself. What do you think? If you haven't done both of them, you get a sense of punching through it on your own. You can see the difference in terms of having someone else there to support you. So which is easier, breaking through with or without the right support? The same is true in life in terms of things that you want to do. There'll be bringing someone else in has a different perspective, and it means you can hand some of that burden and load over to them. So next time you're with someone, Get that piece of paper, get them to hold it, punch through it, and notice the difference between those two. Now, I've been talking about breakthrough. So just going to share with you some results from people who did, put over there, clients who've done what we call the breakthrough session. This was like the one-day breakthrough session. So one of the clients said, I feel like I am finally alive, living for the first time in a long time, if not ever. So it's almost like they were going through the motions of life, but having that, I have no idea where that URL leads. Anyway, somebody might want to put it in and tell me where it goes. That's an old slide, old image. But they felt as though they were really living life for the first time in their entire lives. It can be really profound for people. This is one of my clients. I've never met her, and the whole time we did the breakthrough session work, I had no idea what she looked like, because we did, I think it was Skype actually at first and then Zoom, but she had the camera off. And I always take my lead from my clients. I will log in. If my clients leave their cameras off, I will leave my camera off as well. So she had a camera off, so my camera's off. So we never actually saw each other during the time that we were doing the breakthrough sessions. And because we were doing it different time zones, they were coming in from work after they had their own cafe and luxury cake store. So I would be coaching Lauren in the evenings after she came home from work, sometimes very early in the morning, but she's in Australia. I'm here in the UK, so we've got quite a big time difference. So we'd never met, never seen her before. And Lauren had said it's really small. She said, like, you know, working with Marilyn was truly spectacular. And just talking about the kind of experiences that she had. Actually, let me bring up a larger version for myself as well, so you don't need to look up my nose. Let me bring that up on you're not going to see this screen, it's just a different screen for me. Right, there we go. So Lauren says, Marilyn is truly spectacular. I was lucky enough to work with her remotely whilst I am based in Australia. I did the breakthrough session. It was both challenging, but so rewarding. So when I talked to you about having that bit of tension, that's what I'm talking about. Marilyn challenges you in such a positive way where you just can't hide from anything. She's also a wealth of knowledge and able to tap into every aspect of life, whether it be in business, gardening, or family life. I have to laugh because my friends who know me are like, what do you know about gardening? Trust me, the analogies come thick and fast when you're working. I really valued our sessions, and I found life synchronized so much faster for me. I would highly recommend Marilyn to anyone looking to take life to the next level. Make the investment in your self-growth and you won't regret it. Thanks, Marilyn. Lauren. And Lauren now has a wonderful company, sold the business, and has a wonderful company called Lydy, Lydy. Check it out. She's created reusable lids. I'm guessing a sort of, this is rubber here. Reusable lids for people who buy their morning daily coffee, because she realized a lot of lids, once it's calmed down, they just get discarded. So check out Lydy. She's had some brilliant support and results with that. So that's Lauren. This was one of the clients who's also abroad, and she said the exchange rate is crazy, but you are worth every cent. And again, a client I'd never met, we'd just kind of be corresponding, and I think that might have been back in the days when I did telephone sessions actually. One client had said, I thought your session fee was expensive. By day 5, she's like, yes, you are psychic, divinely guided, I am blessed, it's worth the money. So people will have different experiences of it, but the net result is it's about getting you the result that you want. And I'm not asking people about the value for money side, but people often mention and go, man, you know what, this is the best money I ever spent, because they then look at this in terms of the value of their life, the things they've been missing out on, the struggles that they've been going through, and what it is like on the other side once you've had that, you know, metaphorical breakthrough. So a few coaching questions for you to really think about and get your head around. And there are 4 of these, but there are some subsets with question 3. So I'll read it just in case you're on a small device. I know sometimes people are on their phone. So question number 1 is, what is the issue or challenge you want to resolve? I'll say that again. What is the issue or challenge you want to resolve? You might even use that same bit of paper, because I'm guessing you haven't broken through it. You might want to just use that to jot your answer down. Question 2, and of course, if you're watching this as a replay, you can do a bit of a pause and ponder that. Question 2, what stops or blocks you? I'll say that again. What stops or blocks you? And go with the first thing that comes to mind. And this one, you might want to almost do some free noting. Just keep writing, keep writing. Just say to you, what else blocks me? What else, what else, what else? Ultimately, one of the most common answers is people say, myself. They are blocking themselves. Now, this isn't a judgment thing. Why am I blocking this? It's not that at all. You just want to get a sense of, okay, what is it that blocks you? The whys and the wherefores, all the rest of it. That's a conversation for another day. It's a good starting point just to know what those blockages are. Question 3, what will life be like when you have resolved it? You've resolved whatever the challenge is, whatever the issue is, whatever's blocking you. And you can think about it perhaps in terms of what will life be like in terms of your work and career. What will it be like in terms of your mindset and peace of mind? What will it be like with regards to your health, your well-being, your confidence, your self-esteem? That was a big one for me. And your goals and life purpose. So again, you might think of it like the traditional wheel of life. When you've resolved this, when you've solved this, when you've broken through that, what will life be like? And depending on where you're at in your life, you might actually not know the answer to that question, because there are times where the problem is people don't know, and that can be really upsetting as well. I didn't know, so I just took what I thought would be a route, which was a chartered accountancy. Really, in my heart of hearts, if I was really choosing, I would have chosen law. But there were reasons I didn't do that, because I had a family member who was a lawyer and I didn't want there to be a direct comparison between the two of us. It sounds, maybe to you sounds a bit crazy when I say it now, but at the time, number one, it wasn't a conscious decision. I just know when I really unpacked it, I was like, oh my God, that's basically why I made that decision about my life and my whole career. How bonkers is that? But at the time, it just felt I was just grabbing at something. And then the question number 4, what has not achieving it cost you so far? So I'll say that again. What has not achieving whatever it is you're going for, what does it cost you so far? And this isn't always a monetary cost, although it can be. If you're, let's say that you have aspirations to do something more than you're doing now, so you might be in what you might feel is a dead-end career, but you know there's more that you could do, and it could be the sky's the limit. So you could maybe work out the financial cost. I'm also talking here about the cost to your psyche, to your soul, and to your physical body. Because when you're not doing the things you want to do, that can be quite corrosive, and quite literally sometimes, if it really gets out of hand, start impacting the physical body. So really think about what is the cost for you. With myself, it was costing me in terms of my confidence. It was costing me in terms of my self-esteem. It was costing me in terms of my peace of mind. It was costing me in terms of my sense of self. Who am I? What am I here to do in the world? That's kind of priceless. Like, it'd be really hard to put a price on that, but start writing some of those things down. And the way I described it for myself, it was like I'm on the outside looking in and just peeping through the window. There might have been a little crack, hence a little face there peeping through. But I was just not living my life. And to have a life on this planet, which might be just a one-time deal, and to not live it, it's like, oh my God. And that's part of the reason why I got into doing this work, because I'm like, whoa, now I've seen that actually it's possible to be, do, and have more. I wanted to help other people to have that same level of change and transformation for themselves, and not go through life hoping, wishing, wanting, and not really stepping into their potential if they felt that was what they wanted to do. My guess is that there is something more that calls you if you're here watching this webinar. If you're watching the replay, I might put this one on YouTube, for example. So there'll be a reason that you're watching it. But by the same token, there'll be people who are like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm happy to just spend my time on the sofa, go to work, come home, watch the game, eat my chips. Fantastic. Do what makes you happy. Do what fulfills your soul. And if you know there's a calling there, then this is what I'm talking about in terms of really using the life that you have ahead of you to really step into that. One of my clients years ago, this is when I said I did the transformation program and then didn't run it again for 10 years. Claudette was one of the first people to sign up when I offered it, because I was only doing 5 places. Similar to this, I'm going to do 2 or 3 of the transformation experience because it's a lot of work for me. And she had seen a video on my website watching someone called Amana Shaka. Now, Amana was sat on my leopard print sofa and we were doing a little mini interview. It was pointed, it's very small, but that's where the red arrow is pointing on the screen if you're looking at this as a video. And she said, I was on your website looking at your testimonials, watching Amana, and I was wishing that could be me, that I could be talking about how much my life has changed. I could be talking about how much my life has transformed. I could be the one having the courage to step out and do all the things that I want to do and live my life and be open to these new ideas. And she's kind of wistfully watching Amana and just wishing. A year or so later, Claudette was the one in the video, and there have been people watching Claudette's video and going, oh my God, I wish that could be me. And so many, many years later, when I opened up the transformation program for a couple of spots, Claudette was on the mailing list and I'd included her video, did a little write-up, and this is what she sent me in response. She said, I love the write-up, Marilyn. I am cherishing, as in smiling, from ear to ear. I totally got goosebumps. I totally envy those new starters. What a fabulous journey they are about to go on, and they don't even know it. Now, if you watch Claudette's video, the reason it's quite noisy in the background is she had come to something I'd invited people on my e-newsletter list to something called the London Yes Group. So Claudette had come to that for the first time, you know, stepping out, doing things differently. And we recorded the testimonial outside of the door, but they play music and there's hundreds of people there. So that's why it might be a bit noisy when you watch it. But yeah, it's that whole thing about, you know, they say in the lottery here, it could be you. And it really is amazing how in just a very short space of time, I think, you know, the way I structured that program, we did 1 hour sessions, and Claudette, I think we might have done a session every week, so, or every other week. So we were done in 2.5, 3 months for that, to have that total life change. And the way that Claudette described it, she said it does what it says on the tin, my life is transformed. So with the transformation experience, doing all that and so much more in a really unique environment. And I guess one of the things to, because people go, yeah, it sounds great, I'll do that at some point. Number one, I probably won't be doing it at some point. But also, we have this weird thing now. I was listening to one of those, you know, sometimes, particularly when I'm making breakfast in the morning, I might just say, okay, YouTube, what you got for me? And I just take the first video that YouTube serves to me. Sometimes I do the same with TV. I'd go and bang, and I just land on a channel. Like, if it's not something completely obscure, I'll watch it. Or I might look through the TV guide and go, oh, it looks interesting. So I'm watching one of these, I think it was Ancient Aliens or something like that. One of these things that talks about time and ancient sites and all that sort of energy, right up my street, of course. And they were talking about the concept of time and the concept that actually everything is happening all at once. Hey, wasn't there a Hollywood movie that won an Oscar or something, had a similar name? And what they meant was, and the way he described it, and I absolutely loved it, he used the analogy of a radio station. He said you can be listening to channel 1, 2, but while you're listening to channel 1, channel 2 is playing, channel 3 is playing, channel blah, 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 and all the stations are playing simultaneously at the same time. The same would be true. Let's pull it up. The TV guide. So we've got the TV guide here at Sky. I don't think you're gonna be able to see this, but you've got all of these shows all happening at exactly the same time. So we've got Match of the Day. Who's playing Denmark? Oh, England. Oh, England are playing. Okay. So clearly I'm not following football at the moment. So Match of the Day, The One Show, ITV News, Channel 4 News, Escape to the Farm with Kate Humble, The Simpsons, Nothing to Declare, Gomorrah, Dad's Army, Would I Lie to You, Friends, I like a bit of Friends, Stargate, SG1, The Connors. I could go on. All of these are running at exactly the same time. And you are just deciding which of those you dip into. So everything happening all at once. And they were saying that life, you know, people are about past lives and future lives and parallels. They'll say, maybe what if all of those are running at the same time, which is a bit of a mind-blowing concept. With all of that happening, and whether or not time really is intermingling in that way, one of the things we are discovering, and if you're watching this and you're a certain age and you're, I don't know, if you're 55 or younger, you may not have gotten to this realization yet, but it's like you hit a bit of a tipping point. The world that we live in the physical manifestation form that we are, we are not infinite in terms of time. And I think as you kind of, as that human clock continues to tick, your mortality starts to kind of take on a different shape or form. And then it gets to a point, you may hit a point where you go, whoa, there's more of my life behind me than there is ahead of me. Don't rush to get to that point. Enjoy your youth. And it's one that can potentially start to kind of creep in. You have a different realization, a different relationship with time, because our time in our human form is not infinite. Even though you might have time, everything happening all at once, we as humans age, leave the planet, make way for the next generation, etc. So it's one of those things. What do you want to do with your life? And if the time is now, don't wait, because you have no idea what's around the corner. Sometimes opportunities are like buses, sometimes they're like that one in a lifetime thing. I would say if there are things that you want to do, go for it. Don't just sit around and wait. For me, when I first started out in October 2000, I had a thing for myself, and I said, for me, the breakthrough sessions, and as I said, in those days, I was doing the one-day breakthrough sessions. I said they are like the ripple. If that's my logo, the back of my business card, and I did that design in 2001. And the reason I chose the water drop is that the one-day breakthrough session is like the catalyst in the center, and then you're going to have this continual ripple effect. And the way I'd phrased it is the effect of that keeps rippling throughout your entire life for weeks, months, years, decades to come. And there was one day I'm at my desk, I get an email from someone, and they said, Marilyn, I've got a colleague, she's looking for an executive coach. Is that something you're still doing? I said, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to put her in touch. Love to have a chat, happy to talk. And then they said, oh, by the way, been meaning to tell you, the effects of that one-day breakthrough session are still rippling throughout my entire life. And at that point, I was like, I don't think I've spoken to this person for like 10 years. So I go back into the database, and because I'd put a date of what we'd done and when. Sure enough, he had done a one-day breakthrough session 10 years prior. And the effects of that one-day investment in himself was still rippling throughout his entire life. And I've met clients years later. I remember there was one who was a lawyer. I think she worked in conveyancing, property, that sort of thing. Did the one-day breakthrough session. They went off. No idea what happened to them after that. Have a nice life. That's the way it works. And she came back years later to work on something else, because she was now in a completely different profession. She said, Marilyn, that one-day breakthrough, she said, number one, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. The thing that I had the focus of my mind. But she said, my whole life changed. She says, I gave up the law, and I'm now an NLP, she was NLP master practitioner at that point, and thinking of doing the NLP trainers training. And she said it was all as a result of that one day. I just didn't notice it at the time. And it was, again, that amazing ripple effect. So for me, what we're doing with the transformation experience is kind of multiply that. And I'm going to say by 3, but it really is kind of exponential. Now, I've talked about the environment, the scalar energy, etc. So let me tell you what I mean and how that's going to be incorporated into what we're doing. So we're going to be working with what we call pure scalar energy, molecular scalar, and also the harmony, the kind of harmony modulation. And this adds a whole other dimension to the transformation work. So these two generators, these are scalar energy generators. When we do the transformation work, the generator is going to be set up in the room, and the breakthrough session will take place in the scalar energy field. Now, the way that we're going to probably bring the molecular in, if not the whole time, then part of the time, because what you can do is you can add frequencies, music. You know, when people talk about the solfeggio frequency, for example, or the frequency, because all our body, heart, lungs, eyes, skin, you name it, they all have an individual frequency. Fear, anger, love, abundance, joy, all have a frequency. So what we can do when we're doing this is add the harmonic frequencies into the scalar energy field. And with the molecular, let's just say, I don't know, you want to be calmer, then we can add, let's say, the energy, a bit like a form of homeopathy, is we could bring in, lavender aromatherapy oil, and we get the harmonics and frequency of that into the energy field as well. So the generators are set up either side, and then whoever or whatever is in the middle of those two generators, hence that picture there in the center where we'll be sitting, we're going to be in that energy field. And I can also then bring in the additional frequency generator. Let's just say, for example, we're working on clearing fear, lack of confidence, guilt, unhappiness, whatever it might be. I can program in frequencies that help with that. Now, when I was growing up, there was they might still be around, the company called Maxell. And at that time, they made cassette tapes, and they had this particular advert where there's a man in it's like, with the minimalist era. So he's in this empty room, sitting on a black chair with the steel down the, black and silver. And he's sitting in this chair, very kind of modern. The speaker is playing and his hair is blowing back. And they're just saying that the Maxwell energy is so powerful that it kind of just blows your hair back in terms of the quality of sound. There was also an advert, I believe it was Ella Fitzgerald, and there was a glass, and she was singing at a frequency that smashed the glass. Similarly, if you have dogs, for example, there's a thing called a dog whistle. A human being can't hear the dog whistle, but a dog will hear the whistle because it's a different frequency. So if the frequency doesn't match with who you are and what you are, you remain intact. The frequency just passes you by. Just like we don't have glass shattering all over us because we're not at the frequency that's going to break the glass. The same is true with our energy field. However, when you find a frequency that is a match, and let's say with things we want to release, it will eliminate those things. So yes, we'll be doing the timeline therapy, for example, working with anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and all the rest of it. And we can also bring in the frequency that helps to do that on a cellular and molecular level, because you're sitting right in that energy field. So that's what we're going to be doing with regards to that. Now, for those of you, if you've never heard of scalar energy, Nikola Tesla said it's radiant energy, and he felt that it was primal force energy in the universe. He said it's standing energy, universal waves which can be transmitted without loss. So with the remote experiment that I'm doing at the moment, the premise of that is once you get that frequency going, it could be going anywhere, and whoever the recipient is, they can be receiving that from anywhere. But that's kind of how we'll describe the scalar energy. With the molecular, we would place the molecules between the lids. So where you see that arrow saying receiver coil, that's where you put the essential oil. I know people have put vitamins on it. Some people, we're not making any medical claims with any of this, but I know some people put medications on it so they can get the kind of benefit of that. But you get the curative effect of whatever you place on the receiver coil. So I'm running a program for someone at the moment, and I've put frankincense on there because looking at the properties of that would be great for what it is they're working with. And then right next, I'm not going to lift it up because you interrupt the pattern when you lift it up, then you've got to reset the generator. But that's going to sound weird when I say it, but their nail clippings are in the remote. And so we're doing some of the quantum entanglement stuff, but we'll be in that energy field, but we can also add the molecular to it, and we can also add the frequencies and the harmonies. So it might be the Schumann resonance, it might be the solfeggio frequency, it might be something specific in terms of what you want to work on. And as I've said, all of the different parts of the body have different frequencies. Abundance and lack will have different frequencies. Fear and confidence will have different frequencies. So what I'll be doing when we're doing the clearing work, we'll be using one type of frequencies or lots. And when we're doing the more towards what you want and putting in place your goals, dreams, wishes, all the outcomes, all the rest with the timeline therapy, future life progression, all of that sort of stuff, we'll use completely different frequencies, which are conducive to bringing all of that to life. So for those of you who are taking part, just let me know if there is a harmonic frequency that you would like, for example, And then we will go from there. So the one I'm running at the moment is one that's, I'm pointing because it's upstairs, is running the frequency for guilt for this particular client and helping them kind of release the energy of that. So when we talk about the bringing the scalar energy to enhance and support what we're doing and really deepen the experience of what we're doing, that's what I'm talking about with regards to that. There have been lots of studies in terms of how this scalar energy works. Some of the things that people have found in terms of speeding up healing, increasing the cell energy, boosting your physical energy levels if you kind of feel that it's been lacking, opening up the chakras for those of you who work in that particular way, enhancing the body and the circulation, reducing pain and inflammation, accelerating the metabolism, stimulating your immune system, repairing the DNA, enhancing waste detoxification, helping with things like depression, clearing the mind, eliminating, helping to enhance focus and concentration, improving your memory, resolving things like migraines. As I said, not making any medical claims. These are just some of the things that the organization, they're called Spooky too. So that's and that on there, just full disclosure, that's my affiliate link in case you ever want to purchase anything. So it's www.spooky, SPOOKY2, so spooky number 2 dash mal MALL.com/REF/811. So you can go onto their website, you can look at some of the case studies. We're not making any healing claims or anything like that. These are just things that people have reported over the years using these frequencies, and we're going to have these frequencies set up in the room. There are 60,000 different frequencies. There's a lot. You can either do it A to Z, or you can just search for, so someone this week I was working with wanted to do some stuff just to support the kidneys, so I just go straight to kidneys rather than going through the A to Z. There's a lot. So we'll set the frequency to match what you're working on. And what you can see in the center there is what's actually on my desk. It's the frequency generator, and those little black boxes are like clamps. So what you can do is so the nail clippings are inside of that black box, and you close it, and that's how you get that molecular, the kind of quantum connection, what Einstein called spooky action at a distance, because he could see how you could split two molecules, spin one and the other would spin at the same rate, but they are now being separated. Couldn't explain at the time fully how that happened, so he called it spooky action at a distance. So that kind of molecular connection and frequency is what we're working with. And of course, if you did want to do the nail clipping while we're in the room, then bring your clippers and we can put that in there as well. But yeah, we'll be choosing these frequencies because what you can do is you can add the frequency generator into the scalar energy field, so we can be running very specific frequencies, and you'll be sitting in the scalar energy of that as it goes back and forth between the transmitter and the receiver. So that is that. Very quickly, and thank you for still being here, for those of you live and for those of you watching the replay recording. A very quick overview of the transformation experience and the program itself. This is the program overview. This is the suggested schedule. It can be changed and adjusted, but this is what I'm thinking as I'm mapping it out. Day one, so you'll arrive on day one. If you're at the Grove, one of the things that they have said, no matter what, when you arrive on that day of checking in, even though your room won't be ready until the afternoon, you can still use all of the facilities. You could go for a swim, you could go for a spa, you could have your massage, blah, 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 even though your room's not ready. So that's with the Grove. I can't say the others do that as well, but in that luxury environment, then as soon as your day, you have full use of the spa, and you also have full use on the day that you check out. So even though you may check out at 11, I think it's 11 a.m., you've got full use of the spa, and of course there are bathrooms, etc., that you can use. So day one, I envisage that we'll do 11 a.m. till 6 p.m., the one-day breakthrough session. 6 p.m. till 7 p.m., have your incubation break, just to have your own maxwell moment and just kind of let it blow your hair back. 7 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. I suggest that'll be the window to dinner. You might have dinner on your own. We can have dinner together. You can decide, because it's your time, how you want to use it. 9 till 9:30 p.m. This is optional, but I'm thinking we could do a timeline therapy future pace. Do it in the evening so that you then just drift off to sleep. and letting that work its magic. And then again from 9:30, optional, you might want to have one of the what we call the cold lasers in your room, self-administered. I'll show you how to use it, and you can take that to your room and you can do some cold laser energy treatments. They're safe, they're FDA approved, handheld devices. There's no temperature to them. They're just called cold lasers. You can look at cold laser therapy online if you've not come across it. So you can take one of those to your room and give yourself and there are, hang on, various programs. Let me just tell you what the programs are that you can use. Let me just pull this one up. There's Unwind, Quantum, Relieve, Pleo, Activate, Rejuve, Soothe, Unity, Vital, Cohere, as in coherence, Wave, and yeah, so lots of different programs you can choose from, all at different frequencies. It's fabulous. So you could take that back to your room. That's suggested program for day 1. Suggested program for day 2, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. You might want to go for a swim, have some free time, have a lie-in, have a long breakfast, up to you. 10 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. we'll do a dowsing session. I did a Facebook Live on this the other day, so you might want to check it out if you're watching this in real time. And dowsing sessions where we use the dowsing rods to be asking particular questions and doing a bit of kinesiology is the way that you might call it, but this is what I use for the dowsing session. So we're kind of sense checking what we're doing. It's an alternative to muscle testing. It's really useful for me to do it by proxy if I'm working with clients online. So we'll do some dowsing. We'll do the HUNA session. We'll do the access consciousness, the scalar energy powered belief change session in terms of programming in some of the frequencies, the things that you want to release, and the bioresonance detox session if you wanted to do that with the nail clipping. As we're in person, there's a thing you can do with saliva as well. So however we want to do it. So that will be from till 12:30, from 12:30 to 2 p.m. lunch, 2 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. That's your spa time and your massage time. The spa and the massage is if you're doing the Grove experience. If you're not, with the Hilton, for example, they have a fitness center, and with the Grim's Dyke, they have grounds. It's not quite as many acres, or it may just be you want to just go and relax in your room, you want to rest. 6:30 to 8 p.m. dinner, and then 8:30 till 9, again optional, just a suggestion, but I thought it might be quite nice to close the evening off with an FLP, future life progression session. So you meet your future self, bring back those resources, get that dialogue going, really have the energy to create your future. And then again, you can just drift off to sleep and let the FLP work its magic, just a suggestion. And then on day 3, 7 a.m. till 11 a.m. again, you might have some free time, go for a swim, lie in, breakfast, etc. Enjoy the grounds. And then 11 till 2, we'll do our wrap-up sessions. The scalar energy personal frequency session. If there's a particular frequency that you want to bring into your life, then we'll program that in. 2 p.m. lunch, optional, because you might think I'm heading off, it's time for carriages. And then 3 p.m. onwards, carriages home, or enjoy the spa and the retreat grounds. As I said, with the Grove, on the day that you check out, you still have full access to the facilities. Can't say that's the case with all of the other hotels, but the Grove, which is the kind of luxury experience, then you can have the. So if you're a golfer, for example, you can go and use the golf course if you wanted to do that, or if you want to enjoy the spa, the swimming pool, you can do all of that on checkout day. So that's just the rough idea. Now, with the 2-for-1 package, because somebody had asked when I first launched this, can they split this with a friend? So the way I would envisage that working is on day 1, participant 1, let's say the person who initiates the booking, they do the 1-day breakthrough session. Participant 2 will have a spa day or enjoy the grounds. Day 2, participant 1 will have their spa day, enjoy the grounds. Participant 2 will do the breakthrough session. And on day 3, we do a joint session in the morning with the guided processes. So the timeline therapy, the future life progression, the HUNA and the access consciousness. Now, those of you who have followed me for a while, you know I do group stuff all the time, sometimes with several hundred people, so it still works brilliantly. And then the afternoon stroke evening, that's your time, spa, carriages home. So that's the way I would see it working for the 2-for-1. Now, in terms of the 1-day breakthrough session, we've got 3 days. The 1 day is super powerful. multiply that by 3 and then some, because I think the sum of all these parts is going to be greater than the whole. That was all I did for the first 9 years I was in practice. I just did 1 day breakthrough sessions. None of the HUNA, no access consciousness, none of all that other stuff, didn't it? Just 1 day breakthrough session. That was all I did. This was something I did for a journalist for the Metro newspaper, just to give you a flavor of how that 1 day breakthrough session works and the impact of that. Now, they came to interview me. This was back in the day. Hold on, don't need me messages binging and bonging. Sorry about that. This was back in the day. Where journalists would come and visit you and do an interview. So journalist came to visit me, and we're talking about what I do. I said, I'm a trainer and master practitioner of NLP and hypnosis and timeline therapy. I do this thing called HUNA, and I do this thing called EFT, and I'm going on all about these things. And she's like, yeah, whatever. She wasn't particularly impressed, and she was quite frosty, actually. So I said, is there something we need to talk about? And she said, I'm from the USA. We're way ahead of you in terms of therapy, all this sort of stuff. She said, I've got the cap, as in the cap, the mug, the mouse mat, and the T-shirt. There's nothing you can show me that I haven't already seen before. And I was like, whoa. So at that point, I says, look, why don't you put the tape recorder down? And let's actually just do the breakthrough session that I'm talking to you about. Let's bring it to life in a completely different way. So she agreed. And that was that. So I didn't really think of too much about it afterwards. But what I did say to her, and I'd said years before to another journalist who I did a breakthrough session with, I says, let's do the breakthrough session. If you like it, you can write about it. If you don't like it, you can write about that too. And as those words came out, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And months later, this was in the summer, the following January, the piece came out in the Metro. It's called Breaking Up the Easy Way, because they were working on relationship issues and it was that kind of boomerang thing, yo-yo, kept going back to the same person, getting their heart broken, complaining to friends and family about it, going back to the same person, getting their heart broken, complaining to friends, and friends and family going, I'm not enough, we're not interested, we don't want to hear anymore, we've already told you what we think, boom, boom, boom. And so this has been going on for several years. When the piece finally came out, my then partner, who's in London, said, have you seen, because he picked it up on the way to work, I was reading the newspaper, go, oh, there's Marilyn, and said, have you seen the Metro today? And I said, no, I haven't. I didn't realize a piece had come out. So he said, this was back in the day, so this was 2005. He said, I'm going to fax it to you. So I'm like, oh my God. And he didn't say what it was. He just said, oh, you ought to read it. So I started off reading it, got it off the fax, a little bit of paper. And I'm like, oh my God. And it started off saying, when I first read Devonish's guff, it sounded like new age hocus pocus, a bit of therapy, a bit of coaching, a bit of hypnosis. And I was like, oh my God, she hates me, still hates me. And then he transitioned to the end and it says, I don't know how she did it or what she did, but it was seamless. No longer was I obsessing about Mark. I'm ticking things off my to-do list. I'm getting things. I was like, thank you, God. And we didn't do the full 1 day breakthrough session because we didn't have the time. So we probably did, I think, 5 or 6 hours with this one. You're going to be getting 3 days worth of this. So going to have a sip of water, and then we're going to talk about 8 steps that you can use to transform your life in 3 days or less. So these are some of the components. And these are kind of useful things to have to bring in as well. Number 1, have an open mind. Because if your mind is closed, nothing new can get in there. Number 2, a willingness to play. Have that kind of childlike curiosity. That's what they used to say when I first did my NLP training. I didn't get it at the time. I was like, what? But I totally get it now. So having that childlike curiosity. Number 3, go with the flow. One of the big mistakes I made back when I first was getting, well, not even before, well, before I got started, is if it didn't make sense immediately, I wasn't doing it. And if you didn't feel comfortable, I wasn't doing it. Whereas when you kind of just let go and go with the flow, it can take you in places you wouldn't even have dreamt possible. You also have your internal check. You will know intuitively when something is or isn't right for you. And I'm talking about when you get the sense you'd love to do it, but for whatever reason you're holding yourself back, allow yourself to go with the flow. Number 4, connect with your intuition. That's one of the ways that you will know, is this a next step for me? Is this a decision I want to make? Is this a direction I want to go in? So having that rapport with your inner mind, your intuition, your unconscious mind, inner wisdom, however you phrase it, is absolutely key, because a lot of information comes via that when you're tuned into it. Number 5, pay attention to your body. I was talking about this on Facebook, and somebody had posted the name of a book, that Your Body Keeps the Score. Your body will often show you, tell you, allow you to feel what's going on. So let's say someone has stress, anxiety, worry, frustration, overwhelming, etc. I can say, where do you feel that? Number 1, how does that show up for you? And they often go, I don't know, but they'll touch some part of their body. And they say, okay, so if you were to know, where would it be? And they say, well, I kind of feel it here in my chest. And so what does it feel like? Well, it's tight and constricted, for example, or it might have a heat to it, or it might be cold, whatever it is. So your body is often giving you information and also showing you how it might be holding some of this tension. Also, this is really key, number 6, give yourself permission to receive. Oftentimes people are really good givers. They're not necessarily in receiving mode. And with the transformation experience, this is about also allowing yourself to receive all these wonderful things that are available to you, and also allowing yourself to receive information and receive help, support, etc. Number 7, give yourself permission to let go. Oh, sometimes it's about letting go of the expectations, letting go of past disappointments, what I call the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I could have done this, I should have done that, and letting that go. And also, I know it might sound a bit weird, if you are holding on to some of those negative emotions, limiting beliefs, giving yourself permission to let go of those, which it sounds weird because people go, well, of course, that's what I'm paying you for. I want to let go. But when the chips are down, sometimes, this is what we'll explore in the breakthrough session, there is secondary gain, for example, where there is a good logical reason, although the reason is causing you problems, for holding on to it. So it's also about giving yourself permission to let go. And of course, attend the transformation experience, because that's where we'll do all of this and so much more. So those are just some of the things to come with, but a willingness to play, a willingness to explore, to let go. And that then opens the door for all of these wonderful other things coming in. So in terms of next steps, go to the booking site. The link is below. It's a bit of a mouthful. There's a bit.ly link as well, actually. Let me, for those of you who are here live, So those of you who are here live, I'm putting a link in, and it has a code built onto the end of it. So this is for those of you who are here live or watching this webinar during the launch week, which is this week. Okay. Right, so that is in the chat, and I'll talk about what that little code at the end means as well. So that's in there. www.Marilyn-Devonish, that's all one word, MARILYN-DEV for Victor, ONISH. So marilyn-devonish.thrivecart.com/ultimate-transformation-experience, and transformation, TRANCE, F for Freddy, so FORMATION. So ultimate-transformation experience, that's the long mouthful version. Actually, I'm going to put the bit.ly link into, the bit.ly link doesn't have the code on the end, but it's just the short version if you happen to be watching this and you've missed the offer that I will talk about in a second with the £500. Ooh, that's the one. So bit.ly.transformation-experience-TC. So I will put that. They lean to the same place. It's just that one is much easier to get your head around and mouth around than the other. So go to the booking site, complete the booking form. You have to put your name and email address in. The telephone number is optional. That's just in case email bounces for whatever reason, doesn't work. But you have to put your name and your email in. Tick the terms and conditions box as well. That's the terms and conditions for the hotel. Once I've booked it, I can't necessarily guarantee that they'll be given any refunds, and I cannot guarantee that they're going to be able to move it to a date that another date that you want. So just ticking the terms and conditions, make sure you're clear about that. choose the package that you want. There are 3 different packages. You've got the silver, gold, and the platinum. The platinum is the Grove. The gold is the Grimsdyke. We'll look at that in a second. And the silver is the Hilton Hotel, London, Watford. And then click the green button to book your spot. So in terms of the second option, in terms of having some different price points, the gold package is the, I was like, what an interesting name, Grimsdyke Hotel. There must be some family name or something behind it. This one is in Harrow, so just outside of Watford and London. It's set in 40 acres. The Grove is 300 acres. This one is 40, so still beautiful. There's a library. It's more oldie worldy, so there's a library. There's a drawing room. You've got the private gardens. You've got the restaurant. You've got the bar. What I really liked about this one was there are locally sourced ingredients. So from, as you know, nowadays, when I go abroad, that's often what happens. You know, like, oh, I'd like a lemon drink, boom, or orange juice, boom. Somebody picks the orange, makes the drink. Doesn't necessarily happen that often here in the UK, but they use locally sourced ingredients, and the food is cooked from scratch every day. So I thought that was really lovely in terms of the nurturing that we're going to be doing. They do not have the spa, and they don't have a gym or a fitness center. This one is more about enjoying the grounds, etc. So that's the Grimsdyke. There's also the silver option is the Hilton London Watford. That's what they call themselves. They're in Watford town centre, and they say a Hertfordshire hideaway with transport links. Because if you've ever been to central Watford, you know, good links to all of the major motorways, really good train service, etc. There's an on-site car park, as there is with both of the 2 other hotels. It's 2 minutes walk from Watford Junction Main Line station. Come out of the station, it's right in front of you. There is a restaurant, there is a bar, there is a fitness centre, there is room service, but you won't have the spa with the Grimsdyke, and you won't have the massage with either of those 2 either, but still very, very nice facilities. And this one is slap bang in the town centre. So if you maybe want to have some nightlife instead of going back to your room and relaxing, then this will be the option to go for. So those are your 3 options. And for those of you who are here live, the coupon that I've just put in there is a £500 gift voucher for any of the 3 packages. So it's built into the code. If it doesn't work, well, if you're watching this as a replay recording, it's likely that the code will not work because we're in real time. But the voucher code, if you were just going to the Thrivecart site, is webinar 500. But it's built into the link that I've just put into the chat. So it will take £500 off either of those 3 packages. So that's in there for that. Any questions, any queries, there is an FAQ table on the site. Now, this is the bit.ly link, bit.ly/transformation-experience-TC. There's a full FAQ list there, and you just click the little green down arrow and it will open up. So you toggle it open and close. I've answered, actually, let me pull it up and just give you a sense of what I have answered on there. Hold on. Should have had that one to the ready. Oh, I know. Quickest way for me to find it is to do that. 1 second, talk about it. And also, for those of you who are here live, if you've got if there's anything that I haven't answered that you kind of want me to put that into the chat or the private Q&A, and I will answer that for you. Right. All right, that's the one. And right. Right, so let me just wait for it to warm up. So this is what the page looks like when you land on it. That's what you're going for. Right, so you scroll down a bit and you have, just after FAQ, how is a transformation experience retreat structured? What is the transformation? When is it taking place? How long? Actually, when is it taking place? Dates to be, so this one probably relevant to know. Dates will be agreed between us, because of course I have to be free and you have to be free. And so, as I said, it's those 2 days, 3 nights. You want to choose something. It can be any day of the week. And of course, in terms of some of these hotels, particularly the Grove, that gets booked up quite early. There are some days a week, midweek, for example, you're likely to get better availability than weekends. So we might have to plan a bit further in advance of weekends. But in terms of how long it is, it's the 3 days. Where is it taking place? We've got the 3 different venues, all of them in the kind of Hertfordshire area, so we can have with those 2 the sense of space. How far in advance can the experience be booked? One of the hotels, the Grove, there are some of their particularly with getting the massage in, there are people who are booking 3 to 6 months in advance, because I just kind of phone them to ask. And it also helps with securing the golf times that you want. But if you're not doing the golfing bit, etc., and you're happy with kind of what you get with regards to the massage, then, you know, it doesn't have to be that far in advance. How many other people will be taking part? This is 1-to-1, so it's just you and myself, unless you're doing the 2-for-1, where 2 people are booking and then you're splitting the time between you. Talked a bit about the things that you can work on during this experience. One of the questions I've answered is 3 days enough to achieve all of this? And as I've said here, for the first 9 years, I just did the 1-day breakthrough sessions and they were super powerful. I've answered the question about, can you bring a guest? Because somebody had said initially, they don't necessarily want to split the time, but they'd like to bring a guest. So the guests could enjoy the facilities if they want to play the golf and go swimming during the day, and then they get together and have lunch together and have the time in the evenings. Yes, you can. It's just that I won't be covering their massage, and they'll have to pay for their lunch and dinner. But yes, you can bring a guest. I've added the times where typically lunch and dinner are served. Now that was based on the Grove as opposed to all of the others. Check-in time, check-out time. Explained what the silver and non-spa package is, and I've explained why there is a non-spa version. So that's that. So all of that is on the site. So just go to the bit.ly site, scroll down, you can see the FAQs. And if you're watching this as the replay and there's something I haven't addressed, then feel free, ping me an email and I'll add it. Of course, I'll answer your email, but I'll add it to the FAQ as well. So that brings us to the end of this tour of what's going on. I just thought it'd be easier for me to do a video where I just cover everything. I can then add that to the booking page as well, add it to my e-newsletter list, add it to YouTube, so you can answer your own questions as you go through and also get a sense of what it is and what we're covering. If you have any final questions or queries, put them into the chat or put them into the Q&A. I know there's a little bit of, I think, like a 30-second time delay between me saying that and you hearing that. So I'm going to have a little drink of water. I'll answer any final questions and then we are closed. So, yes. When you book, I will send you the address, but you can look them up as well. Did I save them anywhere? Hold on. I know I didn't. I'm just going to very quickly, just so you can see. Oops, no, not now. Sorry. Do you want to use Provice? So thegrove.co.uk, but somebody was saying, what can you say more about the Grove? So I'm going to put it into the public chat just so everyone can see it. Right, so that's the Grove in terms of the location there. While we're about it, let me pull up the other 2 as well. Okay. That's it. So I'm going to put the Grimsdyke in, and I will put in the Watford Hilton. So I'm going to put those into the public chat as well. Right. There we go. Right, so that's the Grove. I put in the grimsdyke.com and then hilton.com/en/hotels Watford Hilton-London-Watford. So those links are all in there, so you can see what each of the venues are, etc. And on the page that in terms of where the Q&A is, what I've done is I've given you an overview of everything that's included. So just to recap, you've got the 2-night stay at one of the 3 options, 3-day transformation that includes the legendary 1-day breakthrough session. We'll do part of the soul plan reading to help you clarify life purpose, direction, etc. If you're struggling with a decision, direction, what to do next, that's where the dowsing can come in. So we're tapping into your inner wisdom and intuition. The Huna and Access Consciousness session, the Scalar Energy Belief Change session, the Future Life Progression session with the additional abundance harmonic frequency field to help you powerfully create your future. If you've always wanted a sneak peek into your future, this is a good way to do it. This is it. Had some amazing things happen with clients doing FLP. We've got the bioresonance detox session. So while we're working, releasing, resetting, recreating, doing all the transformation and change work, we'll use the Rife, Tesla and Scalar energy generators. If you've never heard of them, I did a whole webinar on them as well, but you've had a little taster here as well. Detoxing, relaxing, the 80-minute de-stress massage. That is with the qualified masseuse. I'm not doing the massages. And that's, of course, for the Grove package. The quantum scalar cold lasers, you can kind of use those in your room. As I said, I'll explain how they work. And the spa time, half day in the middle and half day at the end. So a day in the spa, that's built into it if you're doing the Grove package. Probably going to bring along the structured water and scalar energy imprinted water. Can also do colloidal silver if that's your cup of tea as well. So you've got breakfast on day 2 and day 3, lunch day 1, 2, optional for day 3, and dinner day 1 and day 2. Access to the award-winning jacuzzi, relaxation room, mosaic line, swimming pool, set in the 300 acres, rolling countryside. That is for the Grove only. Taxi from Watford Junction Station if you're coming in to do the Grove and you're coming in by train. And then this whole thing is about uninterrupted time for yourself, deep transformational work, life-changing processes, and really delivering something to enhance all areas of your life and business for years and decades to come. So that's that. Yes, hold on, let me, cool. Thought that's what was popped up in the bubble. So there is the option where you can do a 6-month tarot reading as well. I thought it might be a nice sort of add-on. And somebody was saying, is that the right price? 0.07, as in 7 pence. Yes, that is correct. You can't put 0 in with this. So if you want the 6-month tarot reading, so we're looking at 6 months ahead, intuitive guidance, additional clarity, insight. Clients have said about the tarot, wow, spot on, amazing. And yes, it really is 7 pence. I did also add that to the page as well, but sometimes people still ask. Right, that's it. Now, if you wanted to do a pre-consultation, decide whether this is right for you, the pre-consultation link is at the bottom of the booking page. So you can do that. If the date that you choose isn't free, we'll kind of arrange another date. And I've added the preview to the Grove there. What I probably will do is add the other links as well. Right, I think that is it in terms of questions. Hold on. Right, that's it. No, you're most welcome. Well, thank you so much for staying and listening to all of this. Thank you also if you've been watching this as a replay recording. Very, very much appreciated. That's it. So we've already done the bit about me, so I think we can leave it there. Hold on, did I put a contact form in just so I can ping that on at the end? This was just in people go, what else do you do? So I don't think we need to talk about that. You've got a bit of a flavour already. And I'm just going to have a little look-see. No, that's not the one. Yeah, so in a nutshell, I write for newspapers and magazines, started off doing emotional health and well-being, have been doing that since 2003. I also write for business publications, Guardian, Huffington Post, People Management, Forbes. Those are more business related topics, quality, diversity, remote working, which has been a specialist subject since 2003. I mentioned also media commentator, so do a lot of live radio, TV on some of those specialist subjects, mental health, well-being, all of that kind of cool stuff. I'm also very much in the spiritual world, and this is something where spirituality meets science, which is one of the reasons why I love all this stuff about frequencies as well. So I've been the host and MC of something called the TCCHE, the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution. So if you follow people like Nassim Haramein, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Jude Currivan, etc., the list is long, Dr. David Hamilton, they're all in there as well. For me, it's always been about transformation. Very first book I co-authored with people like Tony Robbins. If you're into NLP, Dr. Paul Shealy, the creator of photo reading, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, Chun-Yi Lin, and Brian Tracy, business guru. And I design and deliver corporate workshops as well. So if your focus is more on work, career, corporate stuff, that's absolutely fine. I've also been a management consultant since the year 2003, was also a Prince 2 project manager working for central and local government. So really, it's really up to you to decide what you want to bring to the table and what it is you want to work on. But those are just some of the subjects, everything from emotional intelligence, stakeholder management, leadership development, flexible working, communication skills, presentation skills, diversity, inclusion, mental health, first aider, creative thinking, psychological safety, managing projects, you name it. I've probably designed, it says 50 plus, there's probably more like 100 workshops, and co-authored a book on remote working in March 2020. So that's me in a nutshell. Any questions, any queries, you can ping me an email, marilyn@transformationstm.com. That's MARILYN at trance, TRANCE, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONS, TM.com. So Marilyn@transformationstm.com. Main website is transformationstm.com. My blog is marilyndevonish.com. There's another site I tend to use for blogging now as well, but you'll see the archive of blogs on there. And one of the things I will say, even just answering these coaching questions and thinking about the keys to transformation and change, is notice what you notice in terms of your thinking, the thoughts, the ideas, the aha moments that come to you. This is one of the cards from, well, I've put it in both the Money Breakthrough coaching card deck, Oracle card deck, and the coaching card deck as well. But notice what you notice, because what this does is it opens up all of your receptors and starts kind of creating wonderful synchronicities. And finally, if you want to experience some of the things that I've been talking about with regards to this, take yourself off to the main house. Let me put the link in for the main house as well, just so you have that. And I've got all sorts of rooms. I've got a soul plan room. I've got a block therapy room. I've got a Huna room. There's a DJ room. There's a cafe. Let me put that in. I'm going to, just so you can go and have a look, see. And it's online.transformationtm.com/main house. So if you, I'm going to put that into the public chat. There we go. So visit the main house just to give you a flavor of what you'll find. If you want to just have a little dip your toe in the water with some of the modalities that we'll be meeting, there is a co-working space, so you can arrange to meet friends in there, etc. Just be aware, if other people are in there, if your microphone is switched off and your camera is switched off, somebody will see you sit whatever avatar you've chosen, but they won't be able to hear what you're doing. But if your microphone is open, whoever's in that room can hear as well. But we've got the co-working space, we've got the Huna room, so you get a bit of a taste. There's a video that I've added there, intro to Huna. There's the block therapy room, there's the nightclub, there's an indoor swimming pool if you want to get that little taste. It's complete with sound effects. We've got the virtual coffee shop. We've got the meditation room. There's a photo reading intro room where you can watch a photo reading intro video. There's a money breakthrough workshop room. There's the tarot room, soul plan room. There's tons of rooms. So you might want to log in, have a little look at that if you wanted to just get a bit of a taster in terms of some of the modalities you'll be meeting during the transformation experience. So that's it. thank you so much for those of you who signed up for the webinar, so you get the notification and reminders. Thank you also for those of you who are watching this as the video webinar replay. If you've got any further questions or queries, then ping me an email. Let me know. For those of you who know that it is time to really kind of put some time and energy into yourself, your goals, your dreams, the things that you want to achieve next, possibly letting go of anything. If they're not everyone is in the letting go space. Some people are in the I want to accelerate my performance space, but also if there are things that you want to let go of that no longer serve you, that are stopping and blocking and holding you back and stopping you breaking through whatever the glass ceiling is for you and the metaphor for that, then I really, really, really look forward to working with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you know someone who could benefit from taking part in this while it's available, feel free to share this information with them. Share the link for the page. They can go and check it out for themselves. That would be absolutely amazing. And hold on, my Q&A light is on. Okay, now with what I've said with regards to the main house, there's no login or anything like that. The way that you log in is you just need to choose a nickname. You can call yourself Happy Cat, for example. Choose an avatar. Now there are avatars that you can choose from. Their avatars are actually very cool. Or you can upload a picture. Most people just choose an avatar, but you just need to put a name in, choose an avatar, and then you're in. So there's no login or anything like that, no email required. And if you log into the main house, once you're in, you can then choose which room you want to go in. I have, if you see on the right hand side, I've subsequently labeled the rooms so you can basically see what everything is. And then when you're in one of those rooms, if you look for the little black arrow, one of them will say main house. Click that and it takes you back to the main house, and then you can choose which of the rooms that you want to go in. But no, there's no login required per se. Just put in a name and choose an avatar picture. The way that when I say the avatar picture, if you notice in the room in the middle, you see those little circles sitting on the seats? Those are the avatars. So somebody's chosen a picture, click on one of the seats, and then you've got access to what's in the room. So the videos, the audios, the playlists, the sound effects, everything then is available. But some of them you have to click on the dot in order to get in. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me. Really, really appreciate your time. It's one of your most precious resources. So I appreciate that you have chosen to spend this time with me. And I look forward to working with those of you who really want to go deep with the life-changing transformation experience and have that sense of exponential growth. Marilyn Devonish, the Neuro Success Coach from transformationstm.com, over and out. Thank you for watching and really thank you for taking part. Catch you later.